Hey, Dr. Jon Finn here. Welcome to the Habit Mechanic podcast. Right now, you can get my new best-selling book, Train Your Brain for the AI Revolution, at tougherminds.co.uk. The digital book, audiobook, and physical book are all available at a special price that you won't find anywhere else.
I change people's lives by empowering them to be their best. My fellow habit mechanics help me to be my best. I am only one habit away. So that's the manifesto. So we want habit mechanics not just about helping yourself, it's about helping others to be at their best. But the beauty of it is you use the same ideas you've used to help yourself to help other people. And we've designed the program like that.
If you want to feel better and do better, the biggest problem that you probably face is that most self-help training and coaching is outdated and it's ineffective in our challenging world. Why? Because it's not rooted in cutting-edge science about how your brain actually works and what actually stops you from fulfilling your potential. So what's the solution? You got to become a habit mechanic. Dr. Jon Finn will teach you how. This new, uniquely powerful approach draws on proven insights from cutting-edge neuroscience, behavioral science, psychology, and world champions. Here's my conversation with Dr. Jon Finn. Welcome into the Author Hour podcast. I'm your host, Benji Block, and today we're thrilled to have Dr. Jon Finn on with us. Jon, welcome to the show.
Hi, Benji. Thanks for having me.
Want to say a massive congratulations because you have a new book. The title is The Habit Mechanic, Fine-Tune Your Brain and Supercharge How You Live, Work, and Lead. And we are glad to get to talk with you about this new work.
No, looking forward to it. Looking forward to discussing it in detail.
Well, let's start here. What prompted this project and why was right now the best time for you to take on writing a book like this, Jon?
In short, because I think the world needs it. The world is more challenging than ever before. It's harder than ever to feel good, to do well, to be your best, to fulfill your potential. It's harder than ever for leaders to help others to be at their best and create cultures that help people to be well and perform to their potential. And what I see is that the traditional ways we've used to try and help people be at their best, and leaders use to try to help others to be at their best, they don't work anymore. They're ineffective because they're not based on how our brains actually work, and they're not based on behavioral science, the science of why we do what we do. So we need a different approach. And we've spent over 20 years refining the ideas that we've written about in the book. And the book is everything. Certainly I know about helping people to be at their best. It's not a short book. It's not a book with one or two ideas in it. It is, as some reviewers have said, it's a manual for life. It's a toolkit for life. And you can keep using these ideas again and again. In some ways, I feel the book is a bit of a philanthropic exercise because we are literally giving away everything we know about how to be at your best. But I just want the book to be a force for good. And if people use these ideas, it's shown that they change people's lives. So I think the world is more challenging than it's ever been as we come out of the pandemic, as people adopt new ways of working, as children go back into education. I think whatever you do in this world, it's more challenging than ever to do it. And I just wanted to, we have programs that help people to do better. So I wanted to make that accessible in a book format because I think that books is probably still the best way to get, ideas into people's hands in a really practical way.
Yeah, I think it does that and executes on that vision so well. This book is, you mentioned, it's like a manual for life. And I love thinking of it that way because I do see it as something you would go back to and you would reference. I wonder for you as you work on this and you pour your heart and so much of your research and your work into it, who are you imagining reading the book? Who is that ideal reader for you, Jon?
Yeah, well, it's everybody, which is a problem for us because it's often hard to know who to target. But yeah, there's a section in the book which is titled The Light Bulb Moment. And that chapter details, I suppose, my journey through learning how to apply psychology and insights from science to help people to do better. And we got to a point with the program where we were seeing that the same set of ideas was helping senior leaders in big businesses. It was helping parents. They were helping teachers. They were helping professional athletes, professional coaches. They were helping school children. The same core ideas about this is how your brain works. And these are the things, the tiny, practical, simple, tried and tested things you can use to help you to do better in life. And that's what's so exciting about this set of ideas. They're not for any one specific group. They're for human beings. They're for Homo sapiens. Nothing in the book is prescriptive. It's all about taking the ideas, trying them out and seeing what works best for you in your life. But whether you're a leader of a big business, an employee, a parent, an athlete, all of those things, or you're a teacher and a parent, or you're someone studying for their exams at university, or to make the transition into the next part of your life, or you're someone who's just started what we call in the UK secondary school, you can use these ideas to help you to do better. And people are doing every single minute of every single day, because we've got, over 10,000 people using these ideas, and they all report that they changed their life. So if you want to feel better, do better, be at your best more often, fulfill your potential, if you want to help others to do that, this book is for you.
Well, I know our listeners are in that space, right? Because you don't listen to podcasts about authors and the books that they're writing if you don't want to unlock your amazing potential. So you have a captive audience to your ideas for the next few minutes, Jon, and I am one of those. So let me ask you this. You talk, obviously, by title, we would know this, about being a habit mechanic, but I'd love for you to define that. Give us a picture of what a habit mechanic really is to you.
Yeah, I'll give you an overview to start with, and I'm going to read the Habit Mechanic Manifesto, which is in the book.
Wonderful.
Because we want people to adopt and adapt a new mindset, because I think that's what it takes to actually be at your best in the challenging modern world. A habit mechanic is someone who understands their habits, their helpful habits and their unhelpful habits. And that includes things like beating yourself up too much, becoming overly stressed, procrastinating too much, the invisible, intangible things that we don't necessarily think about as habits, worrying too much. It's someone who understands those things and then is able to make tiny adjustments to build small, new, helpful habits in a sustainable way, in a way that actually helps you to make positive change in your life. So you don't just know what you need to do. You can actually move from knowing to the doing, to building sustainable new habits and behaviors. And then you can, once you're a habit mechanic, you can become a chief habit mechanic. And that is, you can actually start to help others to make positive change in their life and to actually design cultures that make it easier for people to make change. But the Habit Mechanic Manifesto is this: I am a habit mechanic. I don't use outdated self-help and coaching methods that are becoming less and less effective in the challenging modern world. I use proven insights from cutting-edge neuroscience, behavioral science, and psychology to develop my own resilience and performance habits. Then I use the same techniques to help those around me to thrive and succeed. I change people's lives by empowering them to be their best. My fellow habit mechanics help me to be my best. I am only one habit away. So that's the manifesto. So we want habit mechanics not just about helping yourself, it's about helping others to be at their best. But the beauty of it is you use the same ideas you've used to help yourself to help other people. And we've designed the program like that.
You mentioned in the manifesto outdated self-help, and earlier you talked about how you had a light bulb moment of sorts. I wonder if you could just take us personal for a second, Jon, and talk about how this has become something that you've wanted to give your life to and seen the benefits of.
Yeah. As a younger man, I was a reasonable rugby player.
Okay.
And I got to the point of playing international student rugby, which is a reasonable level. But I essentially fell at the last hurdle. I choked under pressure. And I was studying sports psychology at the time. And I was kind of kicking myself that I hadn't been able to, I suppose, develop my mental performance and mental skills as much as I may have liked to. But I then got quite a serious injury that stopped my rugby career progressing further. When you try to push yourself to be your best, you see how challenging it is, and you see how important the mental side is. And I just thought there's a set of ideas here that actually everyone could benefit from. Why wouldn't we deliberately teach people how to manage stress and how to build confidence and how to perform under pressure and how to be productive and focus properly and how to be a great leader? And what I saw when I studied this in great detail, and I've got 3 degrees in this area, including a PhD, is that most of the approaches we were using to try to help people were based on what we call black box theories. Until very recently, we haven't really understood what goes on inside the human brain in any great detail. And then about 20 years ago, we got this technology called functional MRI scanners. And they allowed us for the first time to actually see inside the human brain in real time. And most of the support that's out there doesn't take this new science into consideration about how the brain actually works. And the very, very few programs I've seen that don't take another set of scientists into consideration, which is why we do what we do, which is behavioral science. So all the other approaches I've seen out there that are really well intended, they're not based on good science. And I think everyone can empathize with this idea of, I know that I should eat 5 portions of fruit and veg a day, and I agree that's a good idea, but most people don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one thing knowing something, and most of the programs that are out there are knowledge-based programs. It's a complete other thing to do it, to become what we call a habit mechanic. And very interestingly, just last week in the UK, some data was published showing that actually half of the National Health Service's budget, what's called the NHS in the UK, is spent on lifestyle-related diseases. That is diseases that emerge because people don't actually live their lives by following the advice they broadly agree with. We know we shouldn't eat that type of food, and we know we should exercise more and sleep more and probably not drink as much as we do, and that smoking is bad. Yet people are still doing these things to the tune of half the NHS's budget per year, and that's a big budget. So the way that we're trying to currently help people doesn't work. So I knew that there was a new approach needed, an approach that actually took into consideration how brains work and how to use insights from neuroscience to help us to make sustainable change. And what we see in our programs, what we've seen over the last 20 years or so, is when you start to teach people about how their brain works in a sophisticated but simple way, and you show them how to build sustainable new habits one tiny step at a time, you get amazing results.
Will you identify 4 steps in the book? I would love for you to take the next couple minutes and just from a high level, walk us through what those 4 steps are.
Yeah, so we've designed the book to be a journey, and that's the visual. It's like a roadmap. And the first step is called Discover Your Secret Superpower. So the first part of the book is showing why the world is so challenging, but also showing that we can overcome those challenges by using our secret superpower, which I'll give away now, is learning. We can learn. We're designed to learn. Humans are designed to move around, solve problems. That is to learn and adapt. And we show the importance of developing what we call habit mechanic intelligence, so that we can actually learn more new helpful habits that are going to make it easier for us to be at our best and actually start to discover what we call our super habits, but also learn about our destructive habits so we can get rid of those. So the first part of the book is setting the scene as to why the world is challenging and why learning to become a habit mechanic helps us to overcome those challenges. Step 2 of the book is fairly self-explanatory. It's called Learn How Your Brain Works. And we explain how the brain works using a number of different models we've innovated, starting with our very simple lighthouse brain model, all the way through to more complex models about emotional regulation, which is really at the heart of building more new helpful habits and being at our best. And we found that even if you just understand our most basic lighthouse brain model, it makes it easier to be at your best, to understand this invisible force between our ears that drives everything that we do but it's easy to forget that it's there. You know, it's not like a muscle on your arm that you can physically see. It's invisible, but it's driving everything that we do. And just getting a little bit of understanding about what it's designed to do is really helpful. Step 3 in the book then is showing the simple, practical, science-based habit mechanic skills that you can use to be at your best. And none of this stuff's prescriptive. It's about taking the tools in the book, of which there are 26 different habit mechanic tools in the book, trying things out and seeing what works best for you. But we break down our approach into different sections. So we start by showing you the tools you can use to motivate yourself, and then to analyze your habits so you can start targeting which new helpful habits you want to build. And then we show you how to systematically start building more helpful habits across different categories. So we start with better sleep, diet, and exercise habits so you can get your brain working well. Then we move on to better stress management habits, then better confidence habits, better performing under pressure habits, better productivity and focus habits so you can get more done in less time and really supercharge your work-life balance. And then we also show how to learn more efficiently and effectively so you can build habits more efficiently and effectively. And some of those headings will be appealing to some people, others will be less appealing. But as you go on your journey through life, even if, for example, stress management might not be very important right now, it probably might be at some point in your life. So that's why this is a manual for life. But what we've learned over the course of our journey in helping people to be at their best is that they're the salient points, really, pain points for people. Not all of them, but I'm sure that everyone who's listening to this podcast will be able to connect with at least one of those titles that I just mentioned. And then once you've learned how to be at your best more often, that is, you've become a habit mechanic, or you've started that journey, you're developing your habit mechanic intelligence. Step 4 then is about chief habit mechanic skills. So if I'm a parent, or I work on a team, or I'm a senior leader or a coach, or I'm a part of a sports team, then I've got some level of responsibility to start helping others to be at their best. Because leadership's just about influence, and we're all influencing each other's behavior all of the time. So step 4 really breaks down what is leadership and how we can do it better. That might just be being a mini leader, a small leader. So being a better role model for the people around me and getting a bit better at becoming what we call an action communicator. Or you could go all the way to learn to become a chief habit mechanic, which is learning how to create a culture that makes it really easy for people to be at their best using some of our cultural development tools. People are not compelled to read step 4 if helping others to be at their best isn't a big priority for them right now. But it's there for those that want it now. And I think at every point in life, people get interested in helping others, from being a parent through to becoming the coach as you get a bit older and you can't be an athlete anymore, or as you naturally progress in your career to have a more senior role in the organization that you work. So if you don't want to read that part of the book right now, don't worry, but it's there for when you do want to become better at helping others. So that's an overview of the book.
I love it. I want to go back to step 2 for a second. I want to provide a little bit of how our brain works. And you mentioned the lighthouse model. I wonder if you'd take us just a little bit further, dip our toes in the water, if you would, Jon, on the lighthouse model and some of how our brain works a bit.
Yeah. So the simplest way I've learned to explain to people how their brain works is by explaining, metaphorically, of course. Imagine you have a lighthouse in your brain. And there are 2 characters that live in the lighthouse. One is called Hugh, which stands for horribly unhelpful emotions. And the other one is called Wilhelmina power, or willpower. So Hugh lives and works in the lighthouse control center, and it's using the light of the lighthouse to scan the past, the present, and the future. And Hugh's first instinct is to look for threats and problems. So it's looking into the past about things that might have gone wrong, things that bother you and bug you and cause you to have, unhelpful thoughts. And it's also looking in the future about what potential problems do we have right now. And then it's also projecting into the I think I said, sorry, it's also looking at it in the present. I should have said that. I think I said the future. So it's looking at the present, what's going on right now. Is there a tiger coming into the room? What do people think about me, etc.? But then it's also projecting into the future about what might go wrong. It could be as something as small as, am I going to miss the train? Am I going to be late for the meeting? Or will I get the promotion? Or do people around me really like me? But it's a threat detection machine, and it's scanning the environment all the time for that stuff. When there are no obvious problems, it's then looking for, its next instinct is to look for things that are easy to do that give you a fast reward, like eating a donut, checking your social media, watching the next episode on Netflix. So that's what your Hue is designed to do. The other character, Wilhelmina Power or Willpower, you can decide what yours is called, lives in the Lighthouse's training room, where it's learning about how to help you to be at your best. That's its job. What happens when there's a problem is that Hue calls up to Willpower and says, we've got a problem here. Essentially, it makes you aware of the worry. And then if your brain's working well, Willpower or Wilhelmina comes downstairs into the Lighthouse control room and coaches Hue through the problem. It helps it to interpret the problem in a different way. It calms Hue down. And what you're trying to do is make some of the stuff that Willpower understands, like how to manage stress or how to be more productive or how to be a better leader. You're trying to turn some of that stuff into a habit so that Hue's able to do it more automatically, so that when it sees problems in the future, it's better able to deal with it itself instinctively. And what you're doing there is you're building up what we call implicit emotional regulation habits. But the challenge is that the world we live in is problematic, and it means that our brain doesn't always work very well. So that relationship between Willpower and Hue isn't always as idealistic as I've just shown there. So by learning to be a habit mechanic, you're learning to get a better balance between your Willpower and your Hue, so that it's easier for you to build more new, helpful, sustainable habits.
I love that description, and the picture there, I think, is super helpful. We all feel that tension between the two, and I love just learning a little bit of how our brains are operating. You mentioned earlier how we can know what we should do, but it doesn't mean that it translates into habits. It doesn't mean that it actually translates into doing. In that vein, I want to discuss how we learn, because knowledge becomes a skill and then a skill becomes a habit. But we live in this information-filled, loud society, and so there's endless knowledge, and it becomes really, really difficult to execute and move something from something we know to actually something we do and have a habit form. Do you think, Jon, that it's about consuming less information, or how do we go about actual habit transformation?
Yeah, well, neurobiologically, we understand how learning works. So you get an idea into your short-term memory, and it can hold that idea for about 30 seconds, and it can hold, your short-term memory can hold about 5 to 7 chunks of information at a time. If you don't do something with that information within about 30 seconds, your brain dumps it. So if I say to you 7, 12, 13, 22, 6, 5, 8, 13, 37, already you've forgotten the first numbers, right? Because I've overloaded your short-term memory.
Yep.
But if I'd have stopped after maybe 5 or 7 numbers, you could have held those. But again, if you don't do something with them, you forget them. So in order to retain them, you've got to repeat them. So you could write them down, for example. You could say them out loud. You could tell them to someone else. And when we start to repeat things, we start to change our brain via a process called neuroplasticity. And that knowledge starts to become represented by neurobiological connections in your brain. If you keep repeating those numbers, those connections get stronger and stronger and stronger. But if you stop using the numbers, the connections fade and they die. So it's like when you're learning something, you move your neurobiological connections from cobwebs to cables. But if you don't use the knowledge, they go back from cables, back to cobwebs, back to nothing. So that's how learning happens. And yeah, it can become addictive to keep looking for the next fad and the latest tip or trick. What I'm learning is that all this knowledge and all these tips and tricks are doing more damage than they are good, because they're leading to lots of people getting an idea, understanding an idea, trying something once or twice, feeling like they're not able to do it like the influencer can, then beating themselves up that they're not able to do it, and feeling in a worse place than they were before they started, because the advice they're being given isn't designed to help them to build new habits. It's knowledge advice. So the best way that I can explain learning to become a habit mechanic and actually learning how to do better is it's a bit like learning to drive a car.
Yeah.
After your first lesson, most people know broadly how to drive the car. They know where the steering wheel is, and there's an accelerator and a brake. They've got the basics. That's great. But that doesn't mean they can pass their test after lesson one. The average person, it takes 65 hours, I think, to learn how to drive. And you do that over about a 6-month period. So if you actually want to change, it's about repetition. Repeat to remember, remember to repeat. By practicing, you're changing your brain. And that's what the tools in the Habit Mechanic book allow you to do. They give you ways to practice in an intelligent way and to reflect and plan. And you don't have to wait 65 hours to see progress. You can see progress after 2 minutes with our approach by using a tool like the T plan. So it's not about becoming the perfect driver, if you want to use that analogy. It's just about making sustainable progress. Whereas with the traditional approach, we try something new, we fail, we beat ourselves up, we give up, we move on to the next thing, we try that, we fail, we beat ourselves up. This is about looking at yourself in an intelligent way, trying something that leads to a bit of success, then building on that success. And as you go on that journey, you're building more and more helpful habits and learning more and more about yourself. Life is a journey.
Yeah.
And by becoming a habit mechanic, it doesn't guarantee you're never going to fail. It guarantees that when you are, or gives you a much better chance of when you're on an upwards part of your journey, that you are going to be able to get to the peak. When you get to the peak, you're going to be much better able to recognize, is this actually the peak, or can I push myself further? Or do I need to take my foot off the accelerator a little bit here and relax and give myself a bit of a break? And when you're falling down the other side, where your life might feel a little bit out of control, you're better able to rein things in faster because you're more self-aware and actually not fall as far as you may otherwise have done, and learn from those lessons, and then, build and become a better version of yourself. So I'm not sure if I answered your question there, Benji, but I tried.
Oh, no, you definitely answered the question. I think you did a fantastic job of explaining that. And I think that's the constant tension of living in a knowledge age, is that we are bombarded by information, and consuming information can make you feel smarter for, like what you said, about 30 seconds, or maybe it sits with us for a few hours. But when you're actually talking about changing your lifestyle, it's going to need to be repeated. It's going to need to be remembered. You mentioned just a minute ago, Jon, this idea of T, tiny empowering action. I love that part. And I love that as something that our listeners could walk away with. Would you talk a little bit about this idea of tiny empowering action and having a tiny empowering action plan?
Yeah, and this is chapter 1 of the book. So there's nothing long-winded about this book. It's practical straight out of the blocks. We show you how to use the T plan.
That's right.
So T is very, very simple, but it's taken a long time and a lot of science to get right. So for me, it's the most efficient and effective way to actually give yourself of doing a little bit better today. And I do a T plan most days, even on my days off, because it just spend a few minutes. It literally takes 2 minutes and it saves me hours. So the first step of the T plan is you rate how well you did your best to be at your best and achieve your goals yesterday. So I would do this in the morning. So I'd look back to yesterday and say, how well did I do my best to be at my best and achieve my goals out of 10? 10 would mean I was perfect. 1 would mean I failed. I'll be somewhere in between. It's not about being perfect. It's just about doing what we call intelligent self-watching, so that we have a better awareness of ourselves. And then the next step is we say, okay, well, if I scored a 6 yesterday, for example, I say, well, what tiny empowering action could I do today to give myself a better chance of being at my best? So some of the things that I use, and these are just my examples, you've got to work out your own T's, but it might be something like only check the news once today, or go for a 5-minute walk at lunchtime, or eat a piece of fruit for breakfast, or write a positive written reflection at the end of the day. So I commit to just to one thing. And then step 3 is I say, why? Why is doing that thing going to be helpful? So I write down why. So let's say I picked the positive end of day reflection. I could say, well, that's going to help me to draw a line in the sand between work and home life. It's going to help me to de-stress. It's going to help me to switch off and activate my evening routine. It's going to help me to sleep better. It's going to help me to be more refreshed in the morning so I can be more efficient and effective. And by understanding the why and writing it down, we're going to be more compelled to do it. And we show you, how to do, for example, simple, practical written reflections in the book, in the stress management section. But even without those insights of how you do a great written reflection, everyone can have a go and start to get some benefits. But that's the T plan. Simple, practical. Also, we're launching our Habit Mechanic University app as well soon.
Nice.
And that space is first and foremost where people can, come into the campus if you want to use the university language and just post their daily T plans and other planning and reflections in the Habit Mechanic community, so we can all support each other and celebrate people's little successes and activate what we call the social influence in the community, knowledge and skills change factors, which is part of our behavior change model. So we absolutely believe that doing something tiny like the T plan every day is a fundamental part of being the best version of yourself. And the book gives you the tools to start doing that.
Jon, since you implemented the T plan, what are some of maybe the practical changes you've seen in your life for those? It's one thing to do it, for a little bit, but over time, I'm assuming you've seen some general trajectory towards just success, and it obviously as defined by you, but maybe a healthier lifestyle or being more active. Like, what are some of the benefits you've seen?
Yeah, hugely. So by repeating this process, that's how you build habits.
For sure.
And what habit mechanics do is they have a list of their super habits that they're working towards. And they work out what those super habits are by engaging in daily activities like the T plan and using our weekly reflection tools and using our monthly reflection tools and learning about themselves and developing their habit mechanic intelligence. So my super habits that I've developed by using tools like the T plan are things like going for a run at the start of every workday, eating a breakfast which has got omega-3 fatty acids in and complex carbohydrates, writing down my end of day reflection, doing some exercise at lunchtime. I don't have to plan to do these things anymore. They just happen almost automatically now. That's how I know they're habits. But doing a T plan to maybe focus on one of those areas triggers lots of other positive behavior. So essentially, becoming a habit mechanic saves you time. It means you're more efficient and effective. You get to spend more time doing the things that you want to do with your life, not what the big, powerful companies want you to do, like spending time on their social media platforms or, buying the things that they want you to buy from their online stores because that's the highest margin product. They actually give you more control over your life because you understand yourself more clearly and you're able to manage yourself better. And the driving example is really powerful. Becoming a habit mechanic is literally like learning to drive yourself. And it's more complex than ever to drive ourselves. And when I say drive, I'm thinking of like how you drive a car.
Right.
It's more complex than ever to drive ourselves in the challenging VUCA world, which is the volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world, in the attention economy, in the hybrid workplace. It's more challenging than ever before, but becoming a habit mechanic is the solution to do that. It's tried, it's tested, it's science-based. It's just a force for good. And the book literally is a manual for life. It tells you everything that you need to know how to do. It's an approach that you can adopt not only to help yourself, but actually to help the people that you care about in your life. And it will help you to not only be healthier, not only to be happier, but if you want to go there, And I know not everybody does, but if you want to go there, it will help you to fulfill your potential and to be an outstanding leader and an outstanding team member, again, if you want to go there.
Well, Dr. Jon Finn, this has been a great conversation. I love the heart behind this book. I love the science behind this book. It's what we need more of in the world right now. And so I'm thankful that you're giving away, again, we've mentioned it, a manual for life, something we can go back to, turn back to in different seasons when we're facing different types of challenges. But just, again, we're learning how our brain works, but we're also implementing it. This isn't just about knowledge. This is about repeatable systems, things we can do in our lives, design like daily tea, right? These things that we can actually apply and fine tune the way we live so we can live happier, healthier, and live into our purpose and the things that we're doing here. So thank you so much for stopping by Author Hour, Jon. We have so appreciated this conversation.
No, thank you, Benji, and thanks for articulating some of the insights in the book. For me, the more people who read The Habit Mechanic, the better place the world will be. It might sound a bit corny, but I think the more people who can understand themselves and how to manage themselves in a more helpful way, the better place the world will be. So again, this is almost like a philanthropic exercise because we're giving away so much in the book.
Yeah,
that's everything I know about how to be at your best. And I just really hope people use those insights and not only help themselves to be at their best, but they help others as well.
Jon, for those that want to stay connected to you, I know you mentioned that you have an app in the works, but where should people find you online, your work? How can they stay connected?
Yeah, so you can listen to our Habit Mechanic podcast, which is in all the major podcasting channels. Go to our website, which is tougherminds.co.uk. There are tons of free resources on there. And look out for the app when it's available. It'll be ready very, very soon. And it's free. Again, we're just trying to help people to do better and build that tribe of habit mechanics that all help each other to be at their best. And we'll have a planner coming out soon as well, so that you can actually repeatably write down these insights and record them, and just give people a better way of actually building and sustaining new habits. So yeah, lots of places you can learn more about what we do. Again,
the title of the book is The Habit Mechanic: Fine-Tune Your Brain and Supercharge How You Live, Work, and Lead. You can get the book on Amazon now. We encourage you to do so. Dr. Jon Finn, thanks for being on Author Hour.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Author Hour. You can find The Habit Mechanic, Fine-Tune Your Brain and Supercharge How You Live, Work, and Lead on Amazon. A transcript of this episode, as well as all of our previous episodes, is available right now at authorhour.co. For more Author Hour, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite subscription service. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same place, different author.
Thanks for listening to the Habit Mechanic podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe and tell someone else about one of the ideas or insights that you found most interesting.